first Pro chip designed for the Mac.
2 times faster graphics performance than M1.
Alright, new MacBook Pros, and I'm just gonna start by saying that I think that Apple picked the right name for this event. Like release the Kraken in Clash of the Titans, today Apple literally unleashed a batch of products that I feel made this event even more interesting than the iPhone announcement we got last month, and that's with less products, by the way. Some leaks were right and others, which include that new Mac Mini, were not, but the fact of the matter is that what we got today was pretty great, at least for the most part. But yeah, some things were pretty weird. I'm Jaime Rivera with Pocketnow, and let's dive in. So before we get to the new Macs, let's start the way the event started and just keep things in chronological order. Oddly, a Pro event started with music for whatever reason, and what we got was odd to say the least. So Apple introduced a cheaper Apple Music plan called Voice, which essentially allows you to access the whole Apple Music library, but by using Siri. You'll be able to play all songs, playlists, radio stations, and everything on Apple Music, but by using Siri. We're not sure if it'll let you make your own playlist or download your own library, but listen, it costs $4.99 and will be available later this fall. Again, your guess is as good as mine as to how it works, but in the process, we also got a new blue, orange, and yellow option for the HomePod Mini. Fine. Now for the first product announcement, we finally get the 3rd generation AirPods, and that's actually not what I'd call a good finally, as I think that these are kind of too little too late. See, they bring an all new design so long as you're not in the Chinese black market, and yeah, they look like the Pros, but they're not. They bring a brand new low distortion driver, which they're claiming provides powerful bass and crisp frequencies. They feature Apple's one-touch setup that'll automatically pair them to all your Apple devices, and now bring adaptive EQ that matches whatever you're hearing to the way it's supposed to sound. Oh, and they're finally sweat and water resistant as well. They're promising 6 hours of battery life, along with 4 full charges from the case for a total of 30 hours. And by the way, that case got a redesign to match the Pros as well, and now it brings MagSafe by default, by the way. The problem is the pricing strategy. See, the regular AirPods that are 5 years old will remain in the market for $129, and then these new ones cost the crazy $179, which, by the way, is just like $10 less than what you'll find for the AirPods Pro on Amazon during certain deal periods. $179 for no noise canceling makes these pretty much DOA versus the AirPods Pro, or a ton of other options in the market right now, so we'll see how that goes. But alright, let's get to the goods. To everyone's surprise, we got 2 new chips today, and none of them is actually called M1X or my predicted M2. Fine, Diego, you win. Instead, we got the M1 Pro and the M1 Max, and as predicted, these chips would build on the M1's architecture to give us larger chips with a lot more capability. I'm not going to bore you with the technical details, I'll just link to our article on Pocketnow.com in the description. In a nutshell, the M1 Pro has options for 8 or 10 core CPUs, where most are high-performance cores and 2 high-efficiency cores, along with a 16-core GPU. There's a new media engine for ProRes acceleration, a display engine for you to handle multiple displays, and a Thunderbolt engine. It starts with 16 gigs of unified RAM that you can push to 32 gigs based on the model you configure. Now, moving on to that M1 Max, it's the same architecture, but this one starts with a 10-core CPU. Then we're talking of a 32-core GPU paired with up to 64 gigs of unified memory that allows for up to 4 times faster performance than even compared to the M1. And I don't even want to give you the Intel comparisons because they're hilarious. Apple is claiming that it almost doubles the performance of the best PC chip while using 70% less power. Also, if you go for the M1 Pro, it supports up to 2 Pro Display XDRs, but then if you go for the Max, it supports 3 of those and a 4K TV at the same time. They also dabbed a little into how the new Mac OS is designed to take advantage of the unified memory by moving between the GPU and the CPU while having 0 copies. For example, you get 3 times faster ML performance than on the fastest Core i9 MacBook Pro, notice. And we're getting a ton of Logic Pro and Final Cut Pro improvements on both chips, while getting more applications and plugins now supporting them. Now just remember that Core i9 MacBook Pro was, 2 years old? So we'll have to see how that compares to newer Intel and AMD chips. But alright, for the main course today, as expected, we got 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros that are pretty much the same machine with different size options. By the way, as of today, all Intel MacBooks are dead. You can only get the M1 Air and Pro and these new models. They bring a new design that's kind of weird. I mean, it's flat from the top and then curved from the bottom, but that allows for 50% more air circulation, meaning you might not hear the 2 fans on each model according to Apple. The 14-inch weighs 3.5 pounds, and then the 16-inch goes up to 4.7 pounds. Yes, the touch bar is finally gone, and now we get larger function keys, sort of like the new iMac Magic Keyboard, all the way up to the design of Touch ID on the power button. Now, if you're a pro like me, that all sounds fine and dandy, but what about the ports? As of today, 5 years of dongle life is officially come to an end. One side has HDMI, an SD card reader, and one Thunderbolt 4 port, and on the other we have a headphone jack that supports high impedance headphones, 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, and even if MagSafe is back, you can still charge this computer through USB-C. I see the dongle industry is probably about to crash unless you want to stick to the M1 models. Also, notice that the MagSafe cable is braided like on the HomePods and the new iMacs, which is pretty neat. If only it had an Ethernet connector in the power brick, though, and that would make it fantastic. Now, as for the displays, yes, they get thinner, but yes, they get a notch, and I think nothing says Apple will never get rid of the notch design more than this, and also to not include Face ID in this is just a serious irony. Still, there's a 1080p webcam along with computational video, finally. Anyways, these new panels are both mini-LED Liquid Retina XDRs that support ProMotion at 120Hz, and that's even variable for less power consumption. The smaller machine is a 14.2-inch display, and the larger model goes up to 16.2 inches to be exact, and then brightness gets a major boost to 1000 nits of sustained brightness and up to 1600 nits of peak brightness. Also, the already crazy good speakers got a boost to a new 6-speaker system that supports spatial audio, and even the microphones get more studio quality improvements. Now, as for performance details, I'll have to link to everything on Pocketnow.com. It's just too complicated, but to have these machines start at $19.99 with 16 gigs of unified RAM and 512 gigs of storage on the base model is kind of crazy, and by the way, this is new storage that's also a lot faster. To conclude, I think this was one of the best Apple events that we've seen in years, and a lot of it has to do with how much I've learned about the M1 over the past year. If the entry-level 13-inch MacBook Air was already making the most expensive Intel models look like snails, I seriously think a lot of what we got today is crazy overkill for the average consumer. Now, for us creators, this is pretty much what we've been waiting for, in most cases at least. Obviously, there's a part of me that's worried about the curse of the early adopter, as these designs are entirely new, and I'm not really crazy about the mini-LED implementation on the iPad Pro, but listen, my unit is ordered. Stay tuned, as our full review is coming very soon from somebody that's actually going to fully use them to its max potential. Let us know what you think about today's event and what was your favorite product announced in the comments below. While you're at it, follow us on social media and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. You can also follow me on my personal handles to see me test these new products whenever they arrive. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw. I'm Jaime Rivera. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.